After 10 years of sustained work, the 3.5 mm HOE scale Kalka Shimla Railway is now complete. This railway dates to 14th of September 1970 or thereabouts. Everything is scratch built. All these locomotives are hand built. That's the ZDM1 number 744, number 745. They are ZF1s, KCs, all in the loco shed area. I have several rail cars, number 5, number 6, number 14, number 11, and the departmental rail car number 27, which I last found wrecked near Koti station on a rockfall. I have built the transfer facility between the narrow and the broad gauge. Most buildings are authentic, though some may be repositioned somewhat to fit into the available space. Here are the main platforms. There's only one broad gauge lead track, just by way of comparison. There is no intention to build the broad gauge section. Perhaps we should take a quick run along the line and see what we have been able to achieve in the available space. This is ZDM3 number 156, ready to depart. As we exit Kalka station, we run through some scenery which is really ordinary and perhaps not worthy of your attention, but I have taken the trouble to build a small fort which is not entirely without interest. This is a bit of a proto-freelancing exercise because I modeled it on the Kangra Valley Fort. We also run past a derelict village. You can still find these villages pretty much falling apart, but not so much anymore in Punjab. Punjab is a relatively prosperous area now, so much of this landscape has been rebuilt. As soon as it hits the hills, the Kalka Shimla Railway begins to tackle the reverse loops below Dharampur. This is the first of the levels. The train now climbs up through the second level of the loop. The meadows now begin to appear. The train now appears at the top of the loop. I see there are some young climbers. It must be Sunday. Dharampur has been modeled completely on a curve like the prototype, somewhat shallower than perhaps the original curve. It does have some very interesting wildlife still in 1970. The staff quarters are still operational. Dharampur has been modelled more or less accurately to the way it existed in 1970. I had enough picture material. I didn't visit Dharampur and photograph it comprehensively till about 1984-85, I believe. But not much had changed. You will now find that the siding and the goods shed, now coming into view on your left, has been removed. There is now just a flat ground out here. The bridge has been rebuilt completely in the 90s. At the time, the bridge seemed to have sunk and they were just trying to keep it going for a while by putting a Bailey bridge on top of the old stone bridge, which had become much too weak to sustain the weights of the new generation of trucks. Badog has also been modeled accurately for as it existed in 1970. You may enjoy these old pushcart rail cars. These are still used for track inspection work. The shed has long been removed. I think I last saw it sometimes in the early 80s. Then it disappeared. The Badog main station building has been substantially modeled to its design. I had to compress it a lot, but this took a long time to build. And of course you can see the longest tunnel on the Kalka Shimla Railway. Right there, number 33, Badog Tunnel. The experience of watching the ZDM3 emerge from the tunnel remains as exciting as ever. I had to make the hill very shallow. It's actually much higher. I am in the mixed steam and diesel era. There's still some remaining steam engines, but they've been more or less withdrawn from mainline service. As the locomotive and the train disappear into the Devdar forest. Do you see the holiday homes in the back? They are still there. And here at last the train appears at Solan station. Solan is the second station I built on the line. It dates back to about 2011. So it's already 8 or 9 years old. It's beginning to get a bit dusty, but it still operates well. The train will now run steadily, more or less flat, to Solan Brewery. Solan Brewery is where I first started this particular lifetime project in 2009, about October. I wanted to see if the concept that I had in mind would actually work. Bear in mind that I've been in N-scale since the mid-80s, and N-scale's running qualities were debatable, and I was planning to use N-scale material, mechanisms and so forth in order to build this layout, and I wasn't too sure that the quality had improved very much in the years I had been missing since. It has. I did make a choice to use BMO coupling, which may not have been so smart. I should have used the old Rapido N-scale couplings. There's always artistic license. Now this Chettasheli temple clearly does not exist anywhere near Solan, but I just had to have one. So well, we found a nice corner and put it there, and to that extent, forgive me, but there's a lot of license on this layout. My tree building qualities were not what they later became. Still, it's nice to have thick landscape. This is when I started to get a bit creative with my gimmicks. The snake chasing the rat on the rooftop and so forth. Solan is pretty authentic. The runaround loop still exists. The third track, the siding to the old Solan brewery, has now been removed. The old brewery buildings, some of them exist, some don't. I never liked this bridge. It's too rudimentary. But now I don't have the energy to change it. I mean, there'll be too much ripping up. And arrives at Tara Devi station. I love Tara Devi station. It's moody. Nothing urban about it except along one end. I built the Tara Devi temple as well. Here's another freelance section. I wanted to model one of those typical dhaba stops in the hills. So here we have Raju Dhaba and Snow Dhaba and the rest. We also have a prototypical freelanced hill hotel like the Rock Rose Resort or similar that actually can be found on the railway. You can see I've got radio control cars there. I haven't modified those as yet. And beyond that, another freelance section with my personal homage to Modelbau Luft. I just had to do it. I just had to do it. You would get a kiln like this, though there's so much stone available that it's unlikely you would have one of these. The road is frequently used for running radio control HO trains. I also had to take advantage of the bush system and build a freelance mining railway. But this is a removable module. I can change it anytime. If it doesn't work, yeah, it's okay. Finally, after running around Invaram Hill, the train plunges into, Summerhill. It plunges into the Invaram tunnel and emerges on the last final sprint to Shimla station. Shimla station is the longest model I have built and the last one. It's 6 foot 10, 16 feet long, 2 feet deep of course. I have hundreds of photographs I've relied on to model it pretty much the way it was in 1970. I wish I had the space to model the complete goods shed area as well. That turned out not to be really possible. So there is a truncated version of it. It met my goals. Oh, we have here the ZDM2 number 130. I don't know if these actually existed on the line in 1970. They were struggling with the loads and the grades. These are Mack diesels, if I recall correctly. But what the hell, a bit of artistic license should be alright. Most of the buildings are from photographs I have taken. The engine shed has ZDM1s, ZDM2s, no ZDM3s here. That's a ZDM1 number 743. Here's the short, truncated version of the bus stand goods shed area. It's to scale, but I could have made the bus stand a lot bigger.